Found out my son has been stealing and selling my Pokémon cards. I am not the oop. Oop is you, Spike Kinterin. Found out my son has been stealing and selling my Pokémon cards. Originally posted to r, mildly infuriating and r, Pokémon. Original post. Photo of OOP's Pokémon cards binder November 5, 2023. Relevant comments. Oop. You know, one of the things I asked him was if he looked up the value of any of them. No. Why? Quote, dude sold my 1WOTC Legendary Collection set Reverse Holo Pikachu for $5. I'm still going through my binders. Ugh. Pitiful ad. No of all the cards. OMG, please tell me this isn't true. I was reading through the comments to see what was sold and was like, oh, they look newer and like XY evolution, he can replace them pretty easy and cheap. A freaking legendary reverse Pika. If my son came home with that, I'd trade the kid my PS5 and my car for a week. My thoughts and poke prayers go out to you, man. Oop. Yeah. He went through all of my binders, pulled the random pages, put them in this binder, and took them to his high school. There's Japanese gym set cards. XY. Legendary Collection. The 25th Anniversary Collection. Some base, jungle, fossil, rocket that he seemed to pull individually. I'm beyond infuriated. And a couple of people have even suggested having him deal with authorities, since anything over $100 in theft is a felony here in Texas. I'm just kinda torn. 9J000. What's your cut? Oop. Shit. Based on his prices, I would have made less than $20 even at 50%. He's practically been giving them away. Peaches GP. Time for him to pay you back the actual replacement value of the cards if you want to be hard on him. Oop. Oh, trust me. I'm adding it up. He's not admitting to how many he's sold. There's 2 pages with sold on hold written on them, and claims he only sold like 3 cards. Meanwhile, I'm finding missing pages in my old binders, and not seeing where any of those cards may have went, besides his friends. Additional info from Oop. My thoughts exactly. I collected 95% of my cards up until 2006-ish, and started when base set came out. My happiest memories of my mom come from going up to New World Comics and Game HQ in Oklahoma City, playing in leagues and pre-releases, and having my mom by my side as I collected and battled. My mom passed away in 2004, hence why I kinda fell off of it. But I've tried collecting some of the newer sets too. I guess. Have that nostalgia. But it was all happy memories. And the reason why I took such good care of my collection, even started migrating them to high quality binders and sleeves. Part of that was even with my son, who we collected some and battled tons. He isn't much into collecting, so I did most of it, while he'd get the occasional deck to battle. I had shown him my collection over the years since we adopted him, and shared memories with him and everything. Even tried making our own memories through the battling and stories. It infuriated me knowing he took something that was special to me and threw it away. I'm torn, and just trying to make a solid plan on what to do. I think we're going to start with him trying to recover any and all the cards and other things he stole and sold, and go from there. One update. Original post December 3rd, 2023. The 3rd of December 23 update can be found on my profile on Pokémon. I had the link on my original comment, but apparently it got deleted because I can't have links in a comment here. A little context. He's been picking and choosing through my binders and selling them to friends at school. So far, from what I have found missing, it's a lot. Update. Had a long talk with our son this morning when I got home from work. He's apparently been panicking ever since I caught him. I decided to ask him if he understood why his actions made me so livid. He just said because he stole from us. They were expensive, etc. I said yes. Those are reasons. But it's more than that. I pulled out my other binders. Some that I had migrated to new binders, etc. I showed him several cards. I explained that these aren't just something for me to collect when I was growing up. That they were memories. Had sentimental value which is more than money can buy. I explained how I collected them with my mom before she passed away. How some of these cards were gifts from friends. Some that are still around and some that aren't. I explained that these cherished memories I had have been tainted by his actions. I think he started to understand. He started tearing up a bit. Just quiet. I asked him why he did what he did. He supposedly was selling them to get snacks at school. I'm not sure I believe that. But I explained to him we can buy him the snacks he spent money on. So he wouldn't have to do that. LSS. He's always had a food problem. Sneaking from the pantry, fridge, etc. He cried a little. Was trying to hold back. I told him he can fix this mistake. Yeah, I called it a mistake. Because he didn't understand this was more than what it appeared. I told him he has until Friday to get every single card back. Additionally, if he's stolen and sold anything else, then he needs to get that back as well. I'm emailing his principal and teachers as well, and informing them of the situation. He is grounded. But I did tell him fixing this situation will make things better. Faster. He agreed to everything, and is determined to get everything back. He still says it was only 3 cards he stole and sold. The Pikachu, a Mew, and a Mewtwo. Wasn't sure what sets, but he described them. Sounds like Legendary Collection, Expedition, and maybe another one. Not entirely sure. I'm going through and seeing what's missing so far. Everything up to the second Neo set is accounted for. Still a lot to go. And I work long night shifts. So I'll be done later on. I appreciate all the advice, help, and assistance everyone has given me. We're going to see if he does follow through with fixing this. If he doesn't, we'll decide what the next step is. Selling his things, etc. A little background: he's 16. We adopted him when he was 8. Almost 9. He's had a bad upbringing. Going through his bio parents and foster care. He learned a lot of his behaviors through his time before being adopted. He went through 2 failed adoptions before us. So yes, he learned to steal, lie, and do what he needed to in order to survive. I'm not saying that makes what he did okay by any means. We've been guiding him for years. He's come a long way. But he's still got a ways to go. We did therapy when we first adopted him. And we're planning on now getting him evaluated and getting back into therapy now that he's older. And somewhat more mature. He's a pain in my ass. But I do love him and want him to succeed. I just hope we can guide him further and help him realize the impact he has, as well as his actions. Again, thank you all for your ideas, sharing your thoughts, stories, and everything. I'll update again later this week as he fixes this mess. TL. Dear decided not to murder our son for being stupid. He's gonna fix his mistake, or face further consequences. Update December 4th, 2023. Update from R. Mildly infuriating. Found out my son has been stealing and selling my Pokémon cards. This is an update from my previous post in R. Mildly infuriating. https www.reddit.com/r/mildly-infuriating/s/23qjxk1 Bear with me. I'm updating on break at work. So, it's been a few weeks. As I stated in the last update on that post, I discussed with my son the sentimental value of, well, everything. Some people had questions. suggestions, and offered to help. He seems to have understood the consequences of his actions, especially after getting his principal involved and a couple of his friends had words with him. Long story short, haven't had any issues with him stealing cards property since then. He's been doing much better, and even slowly getting his grades up. Some good news is some of the cards have returned. The reverse holo Pikachu from the legendary collection returned, as well as a Mewtwo. I think XY, but can't remember off the top of my head. He still claims he didn't sell nearly as many as the 2 sold pages would suggest. And he says another Pikachu and Mew, Lilypad from XY, should be coming back soon. I'm being hopeful, but firm. He's agreed if he can't get the missing cards back, he's going to pay for them when he starts work in the summer. Which is fine. We all agreed that's fair. Not gonna lie, I'm still pretty sure there's more missing. He admitted to pulling a bunch out of binders and sleeves and misplacing them back when he was looking for things to sell. I'm still going through and cataloging everything I have. I've got a list going of cards I know are missing from him selling them. My method of cataloging my cards includes new HQ side loading binders, exact fit sleeves. I remove the cards from the old binders, sleeves. Place each card in a new exact fit sleeve. Tally how many editions of each. Then place them in a card box until I finish the set. Once I finish the set, I place them in the new binder and use collector. Tried TCG Player's scanner, but it doesn't seem to register I have first ed and standard of certain cards. So, physical list, digital list, and I also take pictures of each page as I go. If y'all have any suggestions on other, easier ways to go through it all, I'm all ears. The transfer to the new sleeves and binders has been the plan all along. The cataloging is just extra steps to ensure what I have in my collection, for future reference or otherwise. Still gonna need a bunch more binders and sleeves, but it's a work in progress. And half the fun. Not too much of an update, but I know some people were interested. He's going to continue trying to get the cards back, or pay to replace them. I'm not gonna lie, it sucks. But at the same time, I'm looking on the bright side of this whole thing. All of my cards hold sentimental value, and I'll never lose that, or the memory of that. The cards he replaces will still hold sentimental value for me, but it'll be new memories between him and myself. I told him about a Mewtwo I received years ago while trading with an old friend on Reddit. Blue Eyes Toon Dragon. And how awesome it was because that was one of my first interactions on Reddit. And I loved the fact he remembered Mewtwo being my favorite. The Mewtwo was a bonus, not part of the trade. I told my son, every single thing holds something special to me, no matter who it comes from or what it is. A thing, a memory, a moment. When I told my son about that, I think that's something else that he took to heart as well. I'll add pictures when I get home in the morning. But for now I've gotta get back to work. Thanks again everyone for all of your help and consideration. All of y'all keep on being awesome. Relevant comments. PPG and MXia. Glad you're getting some cards back. Personally, I'd be putting my cards, or at least the valuable ones, in a safe somewhere for the foreseeable future. Sure, it sounds like he's turned over a new leaf, which is great to hear. But he could also be just trying to appease you to get you off his back before he does it again. Only time will tell. Oop. Yeah. I'm planning on maybe storing them in a fireproof, weatherproof safe. Which sucks because I wanted to put them on my bookshelves along with my library and nerd stuff. But I don't want to risk more disappearing. Though I do have cameras in our office now, just in case. And yeah, I'm a little skeptical about if he's going to do better. But I'm gonna hold out hope. We did have a talk with local police, him, my wife, and I, about consequences of his actions. And I'm thinking that helped him see that he shouldn't be doing this. We'll see. But I'm hopeful. This is a repost sub IAM, not the OOP. I love to see good parenting in play. Op does a good job on dealing with the situation, and good to see the son accepting the consequences and doing his best to make things right. Hopefully all the other cards are able to be found soon and OP's son never does this again. It's incredibly common for adopted or fostered kids to hoard food. My brother was adopted at age 5 and he did it for years after. It sounds like this kiddo grew up with a lot of food insecurity, which leads to the sneaking behavior. WOTC Legendary Collection Set Reverse Holo Pikachu. Worth somewhere around $200 according to my Google search. Jaw dropped when he said the kid was 16. I expected him to be like 9 or 10. As someone who had her father hurt her wrists to wake her up in the morning because I was consistently being too slow, I am truly shocked at the calm and composure this dad had. Kudos to OOP to being a actually good dad and seeking ways to make his son grow from this experience. This is how a real parent deals with conflict with their teenager. Kudos, made my morning. Aside from the stealing thing, I'm betting that OOP's son has difficulty understanding the concept of possessions having more value than just how much they cost. It sounds like OOP's son had a rough childhood with a lot of instability. He likely didn't have many, if any, of his own things, and anything he was given likely got taken away at some point. To him, things are just that, things. And not only that, but he likely purposefully trained himself early on not to get attached to any of his stuff. That way when it inevitably gets taken away from him, he could spare himself the pain and disappointment. Teaching him that stealing is wrong is one very important, but small part of this in the scheme of things. Teaching him that our possessions can have more than just monetary value is a tougher thing to do. I said in another comment, emo as a parent, one of the hardest things to teach a child is a concept, or understanding feelings. Explaining what it is in theory is one thing, but really getting them to understand how it feels can feel impossible, especially if they haven't really experienced it on their own. Sometimes when adults explain something, there's a lot of unsaid inferences that we assume they pick up on. We forget they don't have the lived experience to make the same connections as it comes so natural. For us, it really gets tricky when we think they're picking up what we're laying down because they don't say anything, but in reality, they don't realize they're missing part of it, so they don't ask for clarification. So for OOP, what he thought was him sharing something special and very near and dear to his heart with his son was really just him showing his son these neat-looking cards that he pays money for. For the most part, when we understand the emotional importance an object has, especially to someone we care about, we are much more likely to treat it with reverence. OOP assumed his son would understand his connection to the cards and would treat them with more respect. But he didn't realize that at this point, his son is incapable of putting 2 and 2 together because he just doesn't have the tools to make that connection. I swear, parenting is 90% the parents underestimating how much knowledge they inherently have about a topic, while overestimating how much their kids have, while the kids are over here overestimating their understanding of it, which leads to them being unable to realize that they are, in fact, not actually grasping the main point. Because of this, they confidently and truthfully say they understand. So the parents foolishly assume they're all on the same page until something happens. And then they realize they were not on the same page after all. Repeat this for the rest of your life. A couple people suggested letting my son deal with the authorities. Anything over $100 is a felony here in Texas. Only Reddit would tell a parent to call the police on their own child and charge them with a felony. LMAO, how out of touch are people? Even as a scared straight thing. Imagine how traumatizing that'd be to the kid. Regardless of if they deserved it or not, they'd never trust those parents again. This is really tough because a lot of kids, and the resulting adults, that come from abusive foster homes have food insecurity issues that unfortunately really do mean that snacks now or earning goodwill from someone may be worth a lot more than the value of a collectible. A lot of parents aren't given guidance to deal with it or assume that because food is always available the kid won't need to hoard, steal or bribe, but it's deeply ingrained. My partner, after years of therapy and having his own kid, manages by having a snack drawer at his desk and in our room. Even still, even with being an adult who can just go into the kitchen and make food or order in or drive to the store, it can be a major source of anxiety for him. I've definitely come to expectations on Reddit, because I'm way too impressed by this dad. Not only did he handle this in a really good way with explaining the problem, but the adopted part didn't come up until giving some background. And I'm way too used to posters who would immediately bring up the "my adopted son" and "oop only ever says my son." This shouldn't be a high bar to reach. But here on Reddit the bar is typically on the floor. I can't even read this, it's too rage-inducing for me. Tears of joy. Man, I'm still torn up about losing my entire rocket set in the official binder. Over 20 years later with no explanation of where it went. This one hurt. I wonder if this is not just food hoarding, but the son trying to build up an emergency fund in case this adoption fails too? Oop might find giving an allowance to be helpful in this situation. The kid being 16 was like a bucket of cold water. Wow. I hope that they heal this rift enough that they one day laugh about how terrible the kid is at criminal business. Trade a $300 playing card and risk your father's ire for $5? Game is not worth the candle. LMAO. Op is better than me cuz like he's 16. I thought he's 9 or something, but 16? Question mark. He's 16 and doing this? Sadly, I think Op had better lock up anything of value.
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. Epic Aircast is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.